You're very welcome on to the Matchbook NFL podcast. I am your host, Daniel Hussey, and delighted to be joined by Judah and Brad to preview Week 9. It's Week 9, Judah, but we want to focus a little bit on Week 8 and give some takeaways. There are timestamps if you want to click forward straight away to the previews and bets. But Judah, a lot of crazy stuff in the NFL, but it was a poor week's entertainment value. Even chatting to you lads, but I thought that late window was atrocious. I'm really looking forward to the Cowboys game. They didn't deliver, and it was just loads of blowouts. Can you put that down to anything? Is it just variance?
I mean, that's just like the name of the game in the NFL, right? That you never know what's going to happen. The things that happened last week are not, remotely indicative necessarily of what's going to happen the week after. Like, we just got to embrace the kind of chaos of the NFL season. But yeah, that was just basically every game was decided by 10 or more points. And even the ones that were decided by 10 points, that was garbage time related. A ton of, if you were betting the alts on every game this past week, you would have made a lot of money. But that's the name of the game in the NFL.
Yeah, Brad, for you, I'm trying to get prices right. And when we quarterbacks who maybe come in, like Andy Dalton's specific example, he had a week under his belt in terms of practice, getting used to the plays. I think most of us expected a better performance from him. As an example, notwithstanding, you mentioned there was potential thumb injury there as well.
Yeah. I had my worst week of the year, and some of it was assuming that people we hadn't seen play, like Dalton or Kirk Cousins, would be who they were 2 years ago or whatever. And I don't know, maybe that's a lesson. Like, you have to see these games, you have to watch these games before you trust it. Because you don't know what you get. You don't know what Kirk Cousins has been doing for the last 6 months. And he did miss some wide open throws, and we've seen this year that games seem to get out of hand quite quickly. The Falcons are a classic case of this. They win by 30 or lose by 30 every week for some reason. And it seems like, a few things can go wrong early in a game and things just get out of hand quite quickly this year.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the bets, just point you in direction of our sign-up offer. If you don't have a Matchbook account, you can bet using our exchange markets, the best price out there on the odds checker grid, betting into almost 100%, but you can also use the bet builder options for single props or build your bet up itself. Enter the bonus code POD50, POD50. It gets £50 worth in free bets when you bet £50, and it is our most generous all sports offer. So check that out. Full T's and C's available on screen or insights.matchbook.com. Let's start. Jags at the Raiders. Judah, is first up for you. So lay out your case there for us this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are just teams in entirely different tiers of play right now. I think when you look at the Raiders, outside of week 1 and an ugly win against the Titans, they have been atrocious on offense. And yes, I think this is an overrated Jacksonville defense that has kind of been propped up a lot by the turnovers that they've forced. It's still one of the better pass rush units in the NFL. Geno Smith has always been a quarterback that is particularly bad against pressure. I think you kind of got the same thing. And on the other side of the ball, this is a Vegas defense that just has kind of been eviscerated by teams that pass. And Jacksonville has not been so efficient, but also they're not the sort of team that I think is just going to insist on running the ball and being inefficient there. And I think they should have some success through the air. Ultimately, I don't think Jacksonville is kind of in that. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't think Jacksonville is kind of in this tier of top team. But I think that when you're talking about real points and real games, and yes, there's obviously a gap that the market is implying here. But 2.5, and especially within 3, the points don't necessarily match so well. And I think the Jaguars are far, far better than the Raiders currently, and real points in real games, winning by 3, especially with the state of the Raiders offense. I'm interested in the Jaguars here.
Okay, Brad, you happy with that, taking on this defense with the pass?
Yes, I've not done anything with this game yet. I agree that the Raiders seem like everything they've done on tape has been the bottom of the NFL, and it seemed like to make it 3. The player prop angle, I'm just checking for lines now, nothing up properly, but Travis Hunter, they've been talking a lot about we need to get in the ball more. We need our best 11 players on the field on offense. So I think he's going to be the real focal point of the offense this week, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. He's got a dislocated shoulder or something. He's been practicing in a sling. He has got some weird injury. They might trade him. So I think this offense is going to flow through Travis Hunter. So like yards, TD when that's widely available. I think is a look if you want to chuck that in with a Jags -3 as well.
Okay, yeah. Plenty of options there, as I said at the top of the show on the Matchbook Bet Builder. Brad, we'll stick with you and we'll start with the Titans and the Chargers. Not taking on the Chargers this time, but liking the offenses here, I guess, for both. Well, particularly the Chargers, impressive on Thursday Night Football.
Yes, yeah, they had a 57% success rate against decent Vikings defense, and obviously Joe Alt back in the lineup seemed to make a huge difference, along with Gadsden, the tight end. And obviously, yeah, we've taken on the Chargers a lot this season, and it was mainly about the offensive line when they were down sort of 3 or 4 starters, and they just couldn't protect. But so as we said, they're a little bit healthier. And then this Titans defense is an absolute mess. They signed 3 players this week to try and flesh it out because Arden Key's not practicing. Jeffrey Simmons is not practicing. They've traded away 2 starting secondary members. L'Jarius Sneed, the starting corner, he's on IR. He's not practicing. Starting safety Xavier Woods is not practicing. Like, it is an absolute mess, and I do not see how they stop the Chargers at all. I kind of expect the Chargers to go in there and score 30 plus. And yeah, this total 43.5. It seems well, it's obviously lower than the average in the NFL this season. So can we expect 14 from the Titans? I think so. They have looked better in recent weeks. If you look at their season-long EPA success rate, they are like bottom left in all these charts. They're dead last. But if you just look the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're kind of creeping up. They're bottom 8 instead of dead last. And I fancy they can chip in and just get 14 or 17 to take this over the total.
Okay, Judah, we see this a lot. So you have like a 9.5 point favor. You sort of want to be with the Chargers, but can they cover a spread like that? Is an overplay that you tend to do in these situations that Brad's just on there?
No, not really. I think that's a spot where if you're asking if the Titans can kind of score 14 points and we've got a total of 43, I'm probably more interested in betting the Chargers at the current spreads or even betting the alts. I do agree though that like the Chargers should have plenty of an ability to move the ball, and the defense is a lot healthier right now. Even adding Adafa Owe is I think done wonders to the pass rush. I'm just a little more interested in kind of narrowing the variance of the bet, and instead of kind of relying on both the Chargers to win and also the Titans to have some success, to kind of just lean into the Chargers angle.
Okay, good, healthy disagreement there. Well, agreement on the angle, but maybe a little different way of going about it. Seahawks at the Commanders, Judah. Which way are you looking here?
Yeah, I'm also same taking the road 2.5 point
road
favorite. Yeah. I mean, the Washington defense right now is atrocious. They are at the bottom of the league in basically kind of every pass category. They're allowing the most yards per drop back by a pretty wide margin, which is pretty impressive considering how bad the Dallas defense has been, as well as the Cincinnati defense. So I think that Seattle, and the market still has not kind of fully bought into the Seattle offense, but we're 6-7 games in to the season for Seattle, and like this has been a terrific offense. I don't see why in this matchup in particular this is going to stop in the sense of Seattle playing to kind of a top 10 clip, if not better. The matchup is perfect for a team in Seattle that wants to aggressively attack downfield off play action, which is where Washington has struggled. And on the flip side of the ball, I mean, Terry McLaurin, I think, is absolutely huge for this Washington offense. They just really don't have many secondary weapons outside of him. Luke McCaffrey is certainly a player who pops up in a lot of advanced metrics, but has not really shown any production, even in the limited snaps that he has played. You've just got kind of a weak supporting cast, a Seattle defense that is like second in pressure disruption rate. The Washington offensive line, Josh Cornley, the right tackle right now, is the like 8th worst tackle rated by PFF. He's 65th out of 72, going up against a kind of ferocious pass rush. And it is, if Jaden Daniels is back, is kind of first week back. Again, I just don't think 2.5 points is especially when you consider that like 2.5 points. Yes, like you add in home field advantage. The market is not. I don't think the market is implying that Seattle's 4 points better. And when you talk about real points and real games, and Seattle's ability to put up points here and slow down Washington with its hurt offense, I'm pretty comfortable taking Seattle at 2.5.
Okay, Brad, agreement on that for you? I mean, look, Jaden Daniels, is it too simplistic to say because he runs a lot? It's going to be a struggle for him to get back to the pitch of it straight away.
No, that's something we talk about a lot, isn't it? That don't just assume because a player is back that they're 100%, especially since they rushed him back before and then he re-injured himself, I think in the same game. So obviously their season is circling the drain, so it wouldn't be a surprise if they rushed him back. And Seattle is a very, very good team. I think like proper Super Bowl contender. So I like the angle. Not betting myself yet, but definitely looking at it.
Okay, it does feel an open Super Bowl, to be fair. Seems a lot of pretty decent teams. DK Metcalf is a decent receiver, Brad. I mean, he's gone big a couple of times. There's a 126, 95 in there. You're expecting him to hit it over 60.5 receiving yards.
Yes, I'm expecting a little bit of a shootout here in Pittsburgh versus Indianapolis. This Pittsburgh defense is garbage, right? So they've given up nearly 1,000 yards the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the Packers destroyed them. I think we can safely expect the Colts to go nuts here. Colts, as we've spoken about a lot, top 3 in every single offensive metric. Steelers defense 22nd in defensive DVOA. Kind of, I think, held up a little bit by name brand now, but they look old and slow when you watch them play. And I expect the Colts to score lots. So therefore, I'm expecting the Steelers to be throwing a lot to keep up, and the Colts, they're weakest in the secondary where they've got injuries, and they've actually given up the most catches in the NFL to outside receivers. And DK Metcalf, his usage, he's been kind of underperforming his air yards recently, averaging about 105 air yards over the last 3 weeks, but averaging actually closer to like 55 receiving yards. But yeah, as I say, I think he's the only real receiver for Rodgers, who's I expect to be in a trailing game state and peppering him. And 60.5 is fairly low in that game state.
Okay, and on that game state, Judah, you can comment on DK Metcalf if you want, but if we move on to long shots and alts, and it was a great week as you touched on for alts last week. This is one you potentially picked out as your long shot of the week that Colts could win by margin.
Yeah, I mean, Brad kind of let it off there with like, this is a Colts offense that on a drive efficiency level is as good as we've seen in the last 10 years through 8 weeks of the season. So there's that, which is the like Steelers, the Colts are going to be able to put up a bunch of points. I think the matchup is terrific, and Brad talked about the name value of the Steelers. The Steelers defense has been horrible this year, and certainly in the secondary. I mean, like, you've just got guys like Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey who are big names or expensive players, but are really, really struggling right now in the secondary. They really have not gotten a lot from their interior. Derek Harmon has not had a good year one, especially in run defense. Keanu Benton has taken a huge step back. And like even TJ Watt, not been the same player. Alex Highsmith, not been the same player. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that like when you go from TJ Watt being the elite edge, a top 3 player like in his own class, let's say with Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett, to kind of becoming a tier below, it's going to have a second order effect. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as TJ Watt has kind of slowed down a bit, the rest of the defensive line has gotten worse. And then you just look at the overall unit, and there are a ton of big names that just haven't been playing well. They are they're making the most coverage mistakes of any team. Daniel Jones has been, among the best in the NFL when a team makes a coverage mistake. You can just like any metric on offense, it's going to show that the Colts are ranking very highly because they've been unbelievably efficient. And on the flip side of the ball, the Steelers offense, I think it's very, very limited in a negative game state because they are so reliant on their quick passing game. And we saw this last week where Rodgers was really struggling in the second half to move the ball in a negative game state, which gives me some concern against the Colts. And even if this isn't the negative game state, the quick passes are something that the Colts have done a pretty good job of defending this year. They haven't allowed, I think it's the third fewest quick passes allowed. They've been very efficient when teams do throw quick against them. And the Steelers just don't have that sort of the quick separators, I think, that are so necessary to win early in the play. DK Metcalf has been terrific at the catch point. He's been one of the worst separators so far this year. And so much of his production, which he, of course, can have, is in yak and at the catch point. I just don't see that as the Steelers are not the perfect team to take advantage. And again, I want to talk about real points in real games. I think the Colts are this spot. Of course, anything can happen in any football game. This is like as good a situation as you're going to ask for a team on the road to be able to score 30 plus points as they have basically every week. And I'm just not sure the Steelers are going to be able to keep up.
Okay, we'll lock that in. 3.4 is the Colts, minus 9.5 currently on Matchbook at the time of recording. We're going to move on to the Chiefs and the Bills. We'll spend a lot of time on this game. Brad, I want you to run through your bets one by one and then link it into the long shot, and you can cover what your best bet is out of that. With the Chiefs, first of all, they do seem to constantly evolve with their wide receivers. There's different players stepping up each week. Even the running backs similar. What do you think is going to happen, and who's going to step up this week?
I think they are in love with Rashee Rice. If you just look at his usage, he's been back 2 weeks now. They've brought him back in slowly. First week, 45% snap share. Last week, they upped it to 87. But they have absolutely peppered him with targets. 10 targets in his first game. 4 red zone targets, and he caught 7 with 2 touchdowns. Last week, another 9 targets, 2 more in the red zone, and another touchdown. He caught all 9 targets. So basically, he's got 19 targets on 58 dropbacks. Now, both those games, they won by 30 and 21, I think, didn't they? Both games were well out of hand early. So if this game is even vaguely close, I think we can assume he's going to get 12 targets. So a lot of these lines are set by models, and the starting point will always be like the base rate, and I just don't think that is correctly sort of calculating how they use Rashee Rice, because they're just getting in the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Just Matt Harmon, he's like a wide receiver analyst this week, was saying you can pencil in Rashee Rice for 5 catches just in the first half because they just throw it to him so often behind the line of scrimmage. So first bet here would be Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions at 2.05, I believe is the current Matchbook price.
Yeah, okay. And then one for you, Judah, then on this would be your best bet is the Chiefs minus 2.5, and then bring Brad in on the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whenever these teams play each other, I'm on Kansas City. I think this is the best the Chiefs offense in all of these matchups. This is the best the Chiefs offense has been since like 2021, 2022. And this is by far the worst the Bills have been on defense. I mean, the run defense is terrible. You want to talk about Mahomes? We can even start there, which is like certainly the way he's playing right now. He's back to that elite scrambling, which has enabled him to mitigate defenses for years. The passing offense is going to be elite. I think that's kind of clear. They're now performing way better than the Chiefs and way better than the Bills in virtually any metric. And this is not a good Bills defense. Christian Benford's taken a huge step back. The secondary's hurt. The Chiefs passing offense, I think, is going to have a ton of success. Also, the Chiefs rushing offense, of course, not a coincidence from the fact that the Chiefs passing offense is so good, has quietly been kind of top 10 this year running the ball. They're 7th in rush EPA right now, not far behind in success rate. And this is a Bills rush defense that has just been bleeding the entire time. Of course, the Bills offense can score. It's a lot of hero ball from Josh Allen, which he can do. The difference is that when the Chiefs play hero ball, they actually give it to Patrick Mahomes to have him throw, whatever it is, 8% over expectation, whereas the Bills just don't do that. That's not their game. So you're introducing just a lot more variance. And instead of it kind of being a mano-a-mano of Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, we're going to let them both cook who's going to win, in which case, it becomes more of a 50-50 proposition. It's not really a fair fight because the Bills are kind of taking a huge chunk of those plays and saying, we're going to run some more inefficient ones. And the last thing I'll note is that the Chiefs' run defense has been great over the last month. Which is obviously where the Bills have had a ton of success. And of course, the Bills can have success rushing in any offense. We just saw them have James Cook had a monster game against the Carolina run defense that was previously playing terrific football. I just think when you kind of add up the angles, so much needs to go right for the Bills. I think it's so reliant on Josh Allen. I don't think they're even giving him that chance to kind of play that hero ball, whereas the Chiefs just have so many matchup advantages, whether it's the rush defense, the general offense, even beyond Mahomes. And I see this as a spot where, once again, I'm backing the Chiefs over the Bills.
Yeah, seems a regular occurrence the last couple of years at Judah. Brad, with the game script that Judah's outlined there is the scenario that Josh Allen has got to scramble a lot here, and we can take advantage of that and not just have the single, but also build it into our bet and how we see the game going.
Yeah, one quick one to kind of add on to what Judah's saying is that sorry, I've been distracted there. Game script. So yeah, Josh Allen, when he faces the Kansas City Chiefs, he runs 11 times a game, which is his most against any team ever, essentially. He averages 11 carries a game. He scored 4 touchdowns in 5 games, and he averages 46 yards on the ground. And we've seen that consistently in the biggest games. Allen will take off more. And yeah, he's here at 35.5 in places on Matchbook. Over 37.5 is evens. So if we assume, that game state you're talking about, Chiefs come out slinging it about, which they probably will, hit Rashee Rice often, Rice scores a touchdown, and then I agree that the Bills are going to struggle to pass the ball here. I don't think the receivers are good enough to get open consistently against man coverage, which is probably what they're going to have. So it's going to be the run game, and it's going to be Allen tucking it and rushing with it. So if you chuck all these together, so Rashee Rice over 6.5 catches, Josh Allen over 37.5 rush yards, and then Allen and Rice to score a touchdown, you throw them all together, you get 17-2, I believe. Is that the correct price? Yeah. You get 9.5.
9.5, yeah.
You get 9.5. Which, that's kind of the way I see the game playing out. So we might take a little swing on that one.
Okay, so that bet, incidentally, is on the bottom of your screen, and it is recapped on insights.matchbook.com. Rashee Rice over 6.5 receptions, also getting an anytime touchdown. Josh Allen over 37.5 rushing yards, and Josh Allen touchdown at 9.5. We're done. That's all the bets there. Insights.matchbook.com, as I mentioned, full recap of all the guys' picks every week. We see a lot of people heading over there around Sunday, so do check that out. We'll be back next week to preview another NFL's week. Enjoy the week, particularly Chiefs and Bills. Really looking forward to it, and we'll chat to you guys next week. Bye-bye.